Subscribe to this channel. I make new cakes every Tuesday. On this edition of Yo's Recipe Box, I'm going to make a simple cheesecake. No, not a cake that looks like a hunk of cheese, but rather a simple cheesecake that you can make at home and enjoy. I'm going to use these cheesecakes stacked between layers of chocolate fudgy brownies to make my ultimate hibernation cake. You can check out that video in the link in the description below. There's also a link to the playlist of all the ooey gooey mega cakes that I've made. To begin making this cheesecake, I'm going to start with the crust. My crust involves graham cracker crumbs, sugar, and melted unsalted butter. You can also substitute these graham crumbs with Oreo crumbs, biscotti crumbs, ginger snap crumbs, any kind of dry, hard cookie. The first thing I'm going to do is mix my sugar into my graham crumbs. Once all of your sugar and graham crumbs are mixed together, we can now mix in the melted butter. Distribute that butter all over those graham crumbs. And don't leave any butter in your bowl, okay? Once again, I'm going to use my hands and just stir all of this up. You want to make sure that all of your crumbs are coated in butter. You want your crumb mixture to come together to the point that you could pick up some in your hand, squeeze it together, and it will remain just like that. We're going to set our cheesecake crust mixture aside, and we're going to prepare our pans. I'm using two 8-inch removable bottom cake pans. Now I'm going to line the bottom of both of my pans with a circle of parchment paper that I cut previously to fit. I like to use a scoop or a measuring cup to help me divide my crumbs evenly between my two pans. I'm just spreading the crumbs evenly along the bottom of the pan with my fingertips. This is a 4-inch round cake pan. First I press down in the center and then all the way around my pan. We're going to put these pans in the fridge and keep them cool while we make our cheesecake filling. For my cheesecake filling, I need cream cheese, sugar, vanilla, mascarpone cheese, sour cream, eggs, flour, and half a vanilla bean. We're going to start by placing our cream cheese, sugar, and vanilla into our mixing bowl. Now we're going to place this on the mixer with our paddle attachment. We're going to leave those ingredients there for a second, and in the meantime, we're going to split the vanilla bean. I take a sharp paring knife. Now you're going to hold the vanilla bean flat down on your counter and cut across. Be careful not to cut yourself. Just open it up. Use the back of your paring knife and gently scrape the seeds out of each half of the bean. Scrape as much of the seeds out of the vanilla bean as you can, but the thing I want to tell you is don't throw this empty pod away. You can even save them in a bit of liquid vanilla. I love to use these pods when I make ice cream or custard. You can boil them in with your milk. There's a lot of flavor left. Carefully pick up all your vanilla seeds and place them in your mascarpone cheese. I just want to give this cheese a little bit of a stir to distribute the vanilla seeds. The vanilla looks clumpy when you first scrape it out of the pod, but you can see as you stir, it's actually thousands of tiny seeds. Our ingredients are all set up. We're ready to make our cheesecake filling. I'm going to turn my mixer on to stir speed at first, and then I'm going to turn it up to medium speed and let my cream cheese and sugar blend together. Once you've mixed your cream cheese, vanilla, and sugar together until smooth, we're going to scrape down the side of the bowl. The next thing we're going to do is add our mascarpone cheese and our sour cream. Now we're going to turn the mixer back on to medium speed and combine. Let's just quickly scrape down the bowl before we add our eggs. We can turn our mixer back on to stir speed and add our eggs one at a time until combined. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to scrape down our bowl. The final step in this batter is to add our flour. I like to sift it into the mixer while it's off and then give it one final mix until everything is incorporated. My batter looks great. I'm just going to give it a final stir once I take it off the mixer. I have my 2 chilled cheesecake crusts and a pan that we're going to bake them both in, as well as 2 sheets of tin foil. Let's divide our cheesecake batter between both of our pans. Use your rubber spatula to just evenly spread your cheesecake batter across both pans. I'm going to take a moment just to bang out each pan in case there's air bubbles in my batter. I'm making that face because you know how I feel about air bubbles. I like to smooth my cheesecakes one last time with a small offset spatula, just because sometimes you see the ridges that remain. It's not like cake batter. We're gonna bake these cheesecakes in a water bath. I'll get to that in a second, but in order to prepare the pans, we're gonna wrap the bottom of each one in a sheet of tinfoil. Just place your pan on top of the sheet of tinfoil and then scrunch it up around the sides. I've placed both my cheesecakes in a shallow pan that is big enough to hold them both. And now I'm gonna escort these babies over to my oven so that I can prepare the water bath. Once your pan is set in the oven, you'll want to pour in an inch of water. These cheesecakes bake low and slow for about an hour and 40 minutes. Once my cheesecakes were completely cooled at room temperature, I chilled them in the fridge to set. And then I like to freeze them because this makes it easier to take them out of their pans. I'm going to use my old friend Bernie. He comes in handy. I like to just heat around the edge of the pan. I find that when I do this and I lift the cheesecakes out, I get a smoother finish on the side. I like to place a smaller round cake pan underneath my removable bottom. I find that it really helps, and then I can push my cheesecake out one go. Just take a moment. A moment, that's all I want. The next thing I want to do is remove the bottom metal plate from my cheesecake. I'm just going to take a spatula and run it between the parchment paper and the graham cracker crust. Very gently. Ooh, that was easy. That's why I like using parchment. Once you remove your cheesecakes, leave them in the fridge to thaw for about a half an hour. You don't want to eat them frozen, but you want them to remain cold and lovely.
I think we should just end the video there.
There. And Orhan, can you insert like angels rising with a slice of cheesecake? Something.
Angels and cheesecake.
So, I mean, they go together.
They do.
Some of my favorite toppings for this cheesecake are my caramel, yum, the sauteed apples that I made in my fall harvest cake last year, and of course chocolate ganache. Delicious. Pour it over, drizzle it over, dip a whole cheesecake in it. But I'm actually